1966.
Right.
All right. First thing we talked about is,
Are we on the air?
yeah,
Okay.
is how the Army, we talked about promotions and that they changed the way they do it,
Right.
or they've been changing it.
Right.
Why don't you talk about that?
Okay. Well, the Officers Corps, I don't know when they started, but for almost the entire time I was there, they had an evaluation report that officers got every year annually. And the promotions, to my knowledge, were centralized. The Department of Defense War promoted officers based on input from their annual evaluations.
Right.
Enlisted people, for the longest time, were promoted at the company level.
Right.
And the allocation for promotions was distributed from a division level through regiments, battalions, companies. And it was a little bit more difficult to get promoted, and there was no consistency to promoting people. And when they went to the Black Shoe Army, I'm pretty sure that's when they introduced or started introducing efficiency reports for non-commissioned officers in the Army.
Right.
And they may have even done it for privates, but I'm not sure. I can't remember that far back. Or I don't ever remember being evaluated until I was in the control center business, and I'm an E6, and this is in the 60s now.
Right.
So I think it came about sometime in that time frame. And they were migrating to doing it at the Army level, at least for E7 and above. But they hadn't gotten that far yet. So most of the promotions, E7, E8, E9, were done at the division level. 1st Infantry Division, 11th Airborne Division, each division would have a board. They'd be allocated rank to promote people, and they would hold a board at the division level to select the people they wanted to promote.
When you say a board, what do you mean?
Usually for the E7, E8, and E9 board, usually there was a field grade officer, which is a major above,
Right.
and usually 2 senior enlisted guys, E8s, E9s, that would sit on the board. And you'd be quizzed about all things Army, and your MOS.
The person applying for the promotion.
The person that was put up for the promotion would get drilled by the board. But at the time, the Army was also saying, if you do these certain things, you're going to earn points for promotion. And education was a big part of that. Educate yourself. You're helping the military service by educating yourself. You get points for doing that. So if you went to University in Maryland offered courses almost around the world for military, and they were in almost every military base.
Right.
And they would have courses that there'd be 2 nights a week, and there'd be 3 hours each of the nights. And you go for 2 months and you get 3 college credits for whatever course you were taking.
Right.
And so I started doing that. I started doing it really in Baumholder on a regular basis.
Right.
When we got to Baumholder, I started going to school at night. And
that's, you get points towards the promotion.
Yeah, each credit hour was a point. They also gave you points for completing military extension courses. You could apply for an extension course in almost any subject, military referenced, and they'll mail you the material. You do the work, you send it back to them, they grade it, and you get a certificate saying you finished the course. Nuclear, biological, chemical, all kinds of different courses, map reading, all kinds of exercises, and so I took whatever I could take.
Right.
And you get 1 point for each credit that particular extension course or correspondence course gave you. And so you could get 10 points, 5 points, 20 points, depending on the length of time it required you to complete the course.
Right.
And I was taking them on a regular basis. So I was accumulating points. If the Army took and started promoting in a centralized fashion, my records were going to have points to them. And in the interim, if you get to go before division board, they're going to count the same points. They're required to do basically migrate from the division level to the Department of the Army. And so they're trying to use the same techniques at all divisions.
Right.
So you go in there and you get asked 40 questions or whatever they choose to ask you. You get scored on them. Each person scored you. And then they calculate your time in service, your time in grade, the number of promotion points you have, etc. And then there's probably some weight by the members of the board, depending on who they were,
Right.
and what the job was. So in 1966, I was sent up for E7. I went to a board to compete to get promoted to an E7. There was one available job, an E7 job, and I think there was 5 or 6 of us that were competing for it.
Right.
I was in the 32nd Air Defense Command, which was a division-sized unit. So we had to go to that headquarters to appear before the board. That headquarters was in Kaiserslautern, Germany. And so I go before the board, and I remember the president of the board, for reasons I'll let you know in the future, but it was,
Right.
guys, was a Major Andrew J. Sullivan.
Wow.
And so I go before the board, we all compete, call us in, they tell us, you've been selected to be promoted. So I made E7. And I'd only been an E6 for, 2-3 years.
Right.
I hadn't been an E6 long. And I made E7. But that meant that I was going to change jobs. And the job that I was going to have now, I was going to move to a NORAD similar site in Germany. It was called the Borfink Bunker. And I haven't looked it up on the map for
Right.
a while, but it wasn't far from Baumholder. It was probably 20 miles or so, but it was a mountain, and in the
Right.
mountain was a control center. And you went in the control center, and it was set up as dioceses. So you'd have different air defense or offense,
Right.
because these guys were controlling a whole bunch of everything. And we had a diocese for air defense artillery, for missiles.
Right.
And there were 3 types of missiles that were deployed in Europe at that time: Ajax, Hercules, and Hawk. And so we would manage all of those through control centers in the field, etc. I was a shift leader on one of the shifts, and I think we worked, might have been 24 on, 48 off.
And so this was in a bunker in a mountain,
It was a bunker in a mountain.
just like on TV.
You walk in, you go down a small, narrow hallway, and you can see that when you walk in there, there's a mountain. And you go down the long, narrow hallway, and you don't know, well, this is interesting. And then you come to a massive opening. And the control center was really state of the art. I mean, they had big screens, and you could see aircraft flying, and I mean, you could see the East European side of things that we were looking at, and you could see the Western side that we could see aircraft flying around. I mean, it was all there for you. And again, we did the same thing there that we did at every military job that I had. We start training. You learn what your job is. Wasn't hard, because it's similar to what you did in the control center, just at a higher level. And we'd have
Right.
exercises and we would evaluate. We'd simulate shooting down aircraft and misses, hits, and we after the exercise, we'd get all the documents and try to analyze how we did and what we did
Right.
wrong, and fix any of the errors that we had. So the next exercise, we'd do a better job. And I was there. I think I went there early in '66, and I would have to drive from Baumholder to Borfink. That was where my duty station was. It was out in the country. You'd walk out and there'd be deer everywhere. There was nothing there, just a mountain
Just a mountain with a bunker in it.
with a bunker in it.
How old were you when you started in the air defense and missiles?
It was 1959, so I was 21.
And at 21, were you working with the nuclear missiles?
Yeah, that's where I started. It started in South Park. The control center controlled Nike Ajax and Hercules that had circled the greater Pittsburgh area.
So at 21, you had your finger on the nuclear button.
I wasn't going to push anybody. That wasn't going to be my job.
All right. So back to 66. So you did that for the rest of 1966?
Yeah, and once we got to Borfink, then I was pretty much doing shift work, going out there, doing my shift, and coming home. Mom was pregnant at the time with Utah.
Right.
The doctor had a sense of humor because all three of you guys Mom had to have labor induced. She wouldn't go into labor on her own. And he had her medical history, so he said, okay, we're going to give you a tax deduction. We're going to have the baby delivered the day after Christmas. And then Oma came out to stay with me because Dodie had gone back to Augsburg to help
Right.
Muchka because Andreas was born. So Oma came out and hung out with you guys. Not so much you because you're pretty independent at that time. But Jackie more. What's Jackie? And Mom, I think, spent 3 days in the hospital when she was home. Yeah, I mean, so that was.
What's going on then? Anything going on with the family in the States that you can remember? Grandma's still out in.
Well, they've moved to California.
They're out in California now.
They're not. They're staying there now. They're nice weather, not cold, never snowstorms. I mean, so they were quite happy that they went. Pete was a sportsman. He liked to hunt and fish. Hunting wasn't so great, but he bought a boat and he was 2 blocks from the ocean.
Right.
So he enjoyed his time off and going out and fishing. And so I think they enjoyed.
Now you stayed in touch with Grandma out in California, obviously.
I stayed in touch
Yeah.
with her always. I mean,
Yeah. Now,
but when I'm overseas, there's no cell phone, so you're writing
Right.
letters.
right. But what I'm getting at is, now she's out in California. Did you keep in touch with anybody back in Pittsburgh?
No.
So that's the ties to Pittsburgh are kind of done at this point.
Yeah, I knew people there, but I didn't correspond with
Right.
anybody.
Right.
I mean, if I'd gone back to Pittsburgh, I had uncles and cousins, and
Right.
but I can't recall the rest of the time when I was in the service ever going back to Pittsburgh while I was in the Army.
What's your brother doing?
He's still in the Navy because he went in 1952, 1951.
Right.
So he spent 20 years. So he's going to get out in 71.
Right.
And he spent a lot of time on carriers. That was his MOS. I think he's one of the guys that launched planes and stuff off
Right.
the carriers. So I'm not sure where he was at any specific time.
Did he go to Vietnam?
He went to Vietnam twice.
Do you remember? Do you know what years? Do you remember?
Probably in that same time period, 66 through 66 to 70,
yeah.
maybe, 66, 65, or 66, 67. He was on the PT boat going up the rivers.
what do they call them, swift boats?
Yeah. Him and Kerry.
Kerry. All right, and so that takes us to the end of 66, right?
Takes us to the end of 66.
All right.